Certain vehicle models lean very heavily on the brand in order to appeal to certain consumers. Take, for instance, the Jeep Wrangler or even the Mini Cooper. Another vehicle that is like that is the Fiat 500. But today, we want to find out if leaning on brand is enough, especially in this very competitive car market. And to do that, we have got the updated Fiat 500X. By now, you already know that the outside has been overhauled, but it still looks distinctly Fiat 500X. On the interior, however, I do like the fact that you've got high quality materials. This is the sport variant, so you'll notice on the outside we've got 19-inch wheels and we've got an overall more sportier design. And even on the inside, I've got Alcantara finishes here on the steering wheel and even on the dashboard. And overall, everything feels decent when it comes to quality. In terms of tech, you have got a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system, and that gives you Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. My only bugbear is that the screen is a little bit difficult to navigate, and this Uconnect system does tend to be a bit wishy-washy. And the screen overall is actually quite small, so I wish I had a larger screen to fit the big personality of this car. Jumping into the back seat of the Fiat 500X, you automatically notice that you're quite compromised from a space perspective. I mean, I'm sitting behind myself here, and just by doing this, my legs touch the back of these seats. And even when it comes to headroom, simply by elevating myself, I can touch the roof of this car. Thank goodness, however, if you've got the EST model, it does give you the illusion of more space, especially when you have got this roof that is retracted. But overall, it's definitely a back seat that is suited for 2 people. I must say, I am quite happy with the boot space of this vehicle, considering the fact that it is a small crossover. The first thing you notice when you drive a Fiat 500 or a 500X is the vibe that this car puts out. Immediately you feel a certain way when you drive a Fiat 500. You feel cool, you feel chic, you feel eclectic, and that's the whole selling point of a car like this. But in the real world, we need to consider how this vehicle works for you day to day. So first and foremost, all of the derivatives that are available all feature a 1.4 turbocharged engine that produces 103 kilowatts and 230 Newton meters. This car now features a 6-speed automatic gearbox, which is far better than the previous iterations of the automated manuals that you used to get in these cars. But that being said, there's still a certain jerky nature that this car has about how it delivers its power, and as a result, you do find that the car tends to rev quite high depending on how you're driving it. Even if I'm not driving the vehicle hard, I sometimes can feel the car holding onto gears, and then when I need to quickly accelerate, the car will labor and labor and labor, and it tends to get quite loud in this vehicle. But those are small little things that irritate me about my driving experience in this vehicle. But overall, once you get going and then you start boosting away with the turbocharger, then you do find yourself quite comfortable in this car. I would say this vehicle is best suited for highway driving where things are quiet and they're comfortable and they're serene. Because the moment there's a bit of a terrain change, for instance now, we're driving in the lovely suburb of Parkhurst, Johannesburg. And as you know, Parkhurst has potholes and it's got roads that tend to be quite uneven. And when I'm driving on those roads, the vehicle does tend to feel a little bit nervous behind the wheel. There's a little bit of a stammery nature that the car has, and I must say, it does tend to take away from the overall chic Fiat 500 experience. But once you get used to that, and you get used to the more firmer suspension setting of the car, you tend to enjoy it a bit more as you calibrate yourself to the way this vehicle changes gears and the way the car delivers its power. One proposed benefit of having a 1.4-litre turbocharged engine is good fuel consumption. This car is currently sitting at 8.2 litres per 100, but that has been predominantly city driving and driving in small suburbs like this. But Fiat does claim that you should get 5.7 litres from a combined cycle. If you drive the competition such as a Mini, you'll feel certain similarities in a car like this because all of these smaller crossovers that are eclectic do tend to be quite firmer. That being said, however, the competition does feel a bit more pliant, and overall, I do think that a Mini rides better than this car. But that is when I've got my journalist hat on. If I'm a normal consumer and I'm driving around in my family and we're going out for lunch and we've got the roof open like this, we're having a good time. And that again is where emotion trumps everything, because as we know, we tend to buy cars with our heart and sometimes not with our heads. Speaking about buying, this Fiat 500 tops off at 580,000 Rand for this specific model that I'm in, but it starts off at 509,000 Rand, which tends to be a bit more on the steeper side of things, but it's not terrible considering the fact that we live in an era where small cars like this can easily go into the 700,000 and 800,000 Rand mark.